It's midday. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Crosby, Annan. The bulletin is coming to you live from our studio here at number 35 John Hammond Street. We're also live on all our social media platforms at 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, food shortage looms across four districts of Northeast region following destruction of large acreages of farmlands by floods. Also, the Regional Coordinating Council is describing the devastation as unprecedented. Also, in the bulletin this afternoon, NPP Parliamentary Majority Group has some news, and they are urging NDC minority to seeking the removal of the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Mensah, through legal means rather than resorting to picketing. Also this afternoon, as tension continued to escalate between Akua and Niger's military junta, with the West African Regional Bloc ordering its forces to be on standby. Experts are cautioning Akua to hasten slowly, but President of Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara, is justifying Akua's decision.
To tell these putschists that their place is in the barracks. They should go to fight the terrorists and not try to kidnap a democratically elected president.
We have details of the story and a lot more coming to you shortly. Please stay with us. Let's get into the details of the stories this afternoon. Now, we're starting from the northern part of the country, specifically the Northeast region, where the Regional Coordinating Council through NADMO has described as unprecedented the floods that hit some communities in the region. Several communities have been cut off and rendered inaccessible. According to the National Disaster Management Organization, there is a dire need for food and non-food items to support the affected population. Now, due to the flooding, boreholes and hand-dug wells have been polluted. The assessment by NADMO also revealed that most sanitation facilities, such as household toilets and some public toilets, have collapsed or have been inundated. Also, there's a mention of large acreages of farmland have also been submerged, with most crops, mainly maize, destroyed. Now, per the assessment report, this poses major food insecurity, especially beyond December 2023, and a number of communities remain cut off after the flooding, with roads and some bridges destroyed as a result of the rains. Let's speak with Hassan John Kwaku, is the Northeast Regional Director for the National Disaster Management Organization, for more updates on how they're dealing with this clearly very challenging issue. Hassan, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Good afternoon to you. Your assessment paints a very grim picture of the situation on the ground. Now, what are some of the things that are required to be done immediately to alleviate the situation on your scale of preference?
Well, first of all, let me say good afternoon to your cherished listeners, and also thank you for having me on this program. The day before yesterday, we were traumatized when we got up and then experienced that heavy downpour. And the road linking Nalerugu to Alawale was cut off because the bridge at Tunguri was washed out, because there is a dam there that also collapsed and then washed away the bridge. And then yesterday, the Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, Honorable Stephen Jalula, and some technical men from the ministry, together with the Northeast Regional Minister, came around. And as I speak to you now, work has commenced there. They are trying to create a temporary bridge for the people to ply on the route. Quite apart from that, there was another place, the road that is linking Nalerugu to Bintri. There was another bridge there that was also washed away. Yesterday, they were able to fix it, and people are flying on the routes. And there are other issues that has to do with people's farms being submerged in water. Others have their communities inundated with water. Their toilet systems were contaminated. And NADMO is on the ground. NADMO and other agencies that are responsible to ensure that we help the people to return to their normalcy are on the ground, working to ensure that the people are safe.
Right. So clearly, this is a huge loss we're looking at. But talk to us about the degree specifically of the damages. How many communities, districts have been affected? If we can get the numbers of the residents involved, the population of the affected residents.
So as for the damage, yes, I can say that it's huge because we are talking about people's farms being submerged. We are talking about people's foodstuffs being washed away. We are talking about people's rooms being collapsed. And, some of the communities too are cut off. And so it is very difficult for us to get to the scene to be able to do proper assessment. And some of the farms too, the water is still there. Until the water is receded, we'll not be able to do any proper assessment. And so what I can only say for now is that, yes, the situation is not all that good. But we are on the ground trying to ensure that the people are okay.
Per the reports that we obtained, 3 districts were affected. From your initial assessment, we understand that there are challenges assessing all the other communities because a lot of roads have been cut off and amidst all the perilous circumstances that the other communities are in. But do we have an idea how many districts may have been impacted by this devastating floods?
In almost every part of the region was affected. More especially, the Yunason district was affected. The East Mamprusi municipality was affected. The West Mamprusi municipality was also affected. And then some part of the Mampugu Maduri district. And Chelponi too, now that the water is now heading towards Chelponi area. So we've started a civil report that some farms there have also been flooded. So we are monitoring the situation. As and when we get any updates, we will accordingly update you.
So clearly, there's the residents, the affected communities. They need a lot of, intervention from the disaster management organization. If you look at your scale of preference and your trade-offs, what will they need in the immediacy, and what can NADMA provide for them at the moment?
When it happens like that, what we need to do is to ensure that lives and properties are not lost. And so when it happens like that, we have to move into some of the communities that we can help to evacuate them to safe havens. And over here, our people would prefer going to stay with their relatives than to go and be in a safe haven. And then when it happens like that, so we don't have a problem. But what we are saying is that we will make sure that, and we are also doing some education. We are telling them that because we are still in the midst of the rains, so that those of them who are living around the lowlands should move to higher grounds so that they can avoid themselves being hurt. So that's what we are currently doing as an organization. And we have also communicated to our headquarters, and we are doing the assessment because we need to do the assessment to be able to determine what exactly the people will be in need of. So, and the headquarters they are responding positively to our request.
Hassan, I'd like to thank you so much for your time with us on the program. We've been speaking with Alhassan John Kwaku, who is the Northeast Regional Director of the National Disaster Management Organization there. We'll be trying to speak with other affected organizations or communities from the flooding situation in the Northeast region, particularly the Peasant Farmers Association, because a lot of farmlands have been greatly affected by this development. When we reach them, we'll bring you that conversation, and we pick information that NADMO says there's the need for food and non-food items as well. That is the situation in the Northeast region. In the meantime, let's bring you some news concerning politics. And the majority in Parliament, they are urging the NDC minority to use legal means to remove the central bank governor and not picketing at the bank's premises. Now, the NDC leadership in Parliament on Tuesday demanded the resignation of Dr. Ernest Addison and his deputies over the bank's 60 billion cedis loss it posted in the 2022 audit report. Now, the bank has been fighting back, blaming the loss on the government's domestic debt exchange program mainly, and some other factors. Speaking to the media in Parliament, Doma East MP Paul Chumberima says the NDC MPs must not play to the gallery.
I strongly believe it's not a matter of picketing. I think we are gradually getting to the point. And the last time we had the discussions about when working out, and I said that it is about time we consider the national interest. Really and truly, is that what the law says? If you think somebody has committed a crime or has broken the law, and you need to take action, is it about picketing or it's about applying the laws? I think at 918, that governs the Bank of Ghana, has clearly how you can remove a governor. Why aren't we using that procedure? Indeed, the minority also do have a committee. They have ranking members that they can hold the Bank of Ghana to answer questions at the Finance Committee. And they can do that. Indeed, they can even summon him to Parliament. So why do we have to then go and picket him? Picket him for what?
So you heard the voice of the Doma East Member of Parliament, Paul Chumberima, there saying that the NDC MPs must not play to the gallery and that there were better ways to address the situation. The National Democratic Congress that has responded to the ongoing development, particularly the response from the Bank of Ghana. And in a statement that is signed by the leading member of the NDC in Parliament, the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Toforsing. I read to you excerpts of that statement. It says, the NDC caucus in Parliament has noted with dismay a press statement from the Bank of Ghana dated 9th August 2023, which purports to respond to a press conference on the above subject held on 8th August 2023. And that is in response to Parliament's minority group on the Bank of Ghana's 2022 published annual report and financial statement. The minority caucus responded in the statement as follows. The reference Bank of Ghana statement does not address the most fundamental issue, which has to do with printing of money by the Bank of Ghana for the Akua, Dr. Bawumia and MPP government in 2021 and 2022, and that is in clear contravention of Section 30 of the Bank of Ghana Amendment Act 2016, Act 918. Indeed, the minority says throughout the statement, the BOG does not and could not have offered any reasonable justification for printing a whopping 35 billion cedis in 2021 and 42 billion cedis in 2022 to finance the Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government in clear breach of the governing law. It also says that it is indisputable fact that the amount of money printed by the BOG for the reckless Akufo-Addo Bawumia government both in 2021 and 2022 far exceeds the legally accepted threshold of 5% of the previous fiscal year's total revenue. So these are some of the responses that the minority is giving in relation to the, if you like, explanation from the Bank of Ghana. The statement goes ahead to say that the Bank of Ghana did without cognizance to the legal duty imposed on the governor of the BOG to inform the Minister of Finance, who is required upon notification from the governor of the Bank of Ghana to notify Parliament of the attainment of the 5% threshold and or the setting of a new limit of government borrowing. So clearly, the minority is disputing the claims or the justification from the Bank of Ghana. I'll read to you one more portion of the statement from the minority that is signed by the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Toforsing. He says, on the very important issue of illegal write-offs, about 48 billion cedis debt owed by the government of the Bank of Ghana, the explanation canvassed by the central bank in that statement of 9th August is untenable, as it has no legal basis whatsoever. It also says it is instructive to note that the Bank of Ghana has for the first time admitted that Ghana's present economic malaise has been assertion by a accumulation of fiscal overruns and debt distress, which resulted in Ghana losing access to both domestic and international markets, with it attendant credit rating downgrades, high currency depreciation and hyperinflation, amongst others. For details of the statement, please log on to our website 3news.com. From the Bank of Ghana, also the response from the minority caucus in Parliament in a later statement. Now to the Dome Kwabenya constituency, and the Member of Parliament for Dome Kwabenya, Sarah Joasafo, today is engaging her constituents in what some have described as a move to test the waters over her chances to retain the seat in the upcoming 2024 general elections. Now, this has become a matter of significant interest because of the prolonged absence of the MP from Parliament for close to 2 years. My colleague Evelyn Tengma is following the story. Let's touch base with her for some more information. Evelyn, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been to the Dome Kwabenya constituency. Sarah Joasafo is meeting the constituents. What has she been saying? What is the latest on that?
Good afternoon, Crosby. As you rightly said, the Honorable Aborampah is currently visiting some towns in her constituency. First of all, she went to the boy community near Aborampah, and she presented some items to the chiefs and people there. You know, the Gans are celebrating the Homo War Festival. So today she's decided to visit some of the communities and present some items to the chiefs and people there. So she first of all went to Boy, and now she went to another community, Apongman, where she also presented the same items to the chiefs and people there. And she's currently on her way to another community, Krokoto, where she'll be presenting the same items. And Crosby, I must tell you that we spoke to some of the people and the residents there, and they were really happy to see her. Even though they said that it's been a long time they've seen her and they are happy to see her, but their major concern was their roads. Most of them were complaining that their roads are not good. The youth in the community are also saying that they have no jobs in the community and all that. So these are the kind of things they want their MP to address. And so they are happy to see her and hopeful that the chiefs and the elders will put all these issues before her so that she will be able to solve some of these issues for them.
Right. So, Evelyn, this is what we know concerning the visit. Are there any indications whether or not the visit and the donations she's making is an attempt for her to assess the response of the constituents of her coming back? And is she making any intentions or declarations of wanting to retain the Dom Kwabena seat?
Yes, Crosby. We are yet to speak to her and ask her if she will want to retain. She will want to contest again. But the indication I'm getting is that she will contest again. Because even when we went to the boy chief palace, they were speaking Ga. I couldn't really understand the language, but I got the indication that she will be contesting for the NPP primaries again. And the people, some of them we spoke to, they said they like her and they will vote for her, but she will have to address their concerns, which is the road, their major concern. She will have to address them before they can vote for her. Crosby. But the indication is that she will contest again.
Evelyn, thank you so much for joining us. Evelyn Tengma is following the Member of Parliament for Dom Kwabena. As we understand now, she's visiting some communities in the Dom Kwabena constituency. To some other stories this afternoon, we're talking about ECOWAS and Niger. As tension continues to escalate between ECOWAS and Niger's military junta, with the West African bloc ordering its forces to be on standby, experts are cautioning ECOWAS to hasten slowly. The regional bloc, after its extraordinary summit in Abuja, indicated that all options, including the use of force, remain on the table to restore constitutional order in Niger. Already, La Côte d'Ivoire has pledged a battalion of 850 to 1,100 men to join the expedition. Nigeria and Benin would also deploy. Let's listen to President Alassane Ouattara after the ECOWAS summit. He is president of the Ivory Coast.
The position of Côte d'Ivoire, which has been endorsed by all of the head of states, and that we have been able to tell these putschists that their place is in the barracks. They should go to fight the terrorists and not try to kidnap a democratically elected president. So we believe that this is for the credibility of ECOWAS. All of us are concerned and involved in this decision. But there's a position most head of states who have intervened have endorsed. So I want to insist, this is not a Nigerian affair. It's an affair of ECOWAS.
Yet President Alassane Ouattara after the ECOWAS summit there. Now, the conversations concerning ECOWAS, Niger, the military intervention and the latest has generated a lot of conversation. Let's speak with Emmanuel Coutinho, who is the Executive Director for Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism. Mr. Coutinho, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Although ECOWAS Chair Bola Tinubu says that all is not lost in bringing about peaceful resolution through the use of dialogue and diplomacy. He's gone ahead to order the activation of Akua standby force. What's your reaction to this latest development and the signal it sends to the mediation efforts, particularly bearing in mind the position of the Niger junta?
Well, thank you for having me. A very good afternoon to your cherished listeners. In fact, it's one of the insane decisions ECOWAS as a regional body will ever or has ever taken. The question we should ask ourselves, do we really have generals in the ECOWAS sub-region? We have a lot of them who have been to war college. Is what they were taught at war colleges, given the current circumstances in Niger and the sub-region as a whole. Let's go back to history. When was ECOWAS? When Mali overthrew a civilian government. Why didn't they use military intervention in Mali? Why didn't they use a military intervention in Guinea and Burkina Faso? So a precedent has been set. It is about time, Africans, we realize that we cannot longer be used to fight proxy wars of the West. ECOWAS' decision to enter Niger is a very insane decision. And it's not a decision born out of logic, because ECOWAS' decision is based on the West interest in Niger. Because uranium is in Niger. France and I, other Western countries who rely on uranium from Niger will have severe economic consequences. So to me, Tinubu and some other West African leaders are trying to legitimate their presidencies or their governance by declaring war on Niger. Let's go to the nitty-gritties again. Look at Niger today. Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso have pledged solidarity with them. And intelligence have shown that Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso have taken delivery of some military wares from Russia. As we talk, intelligence indicates the Wagner Group has sneaked into Russia. So, to what benefit has sneaked into Niger? So, to what benefit would it be to ECOWAS as a sub-region to go into this kind of very expensive enterprise? I know the laws of Ghana. The president cannot send troops onto such a mission until Parliament approves him. In our current dispensation and the state of even our economy, do we have the wherewithal to do the same? Cote d'Ivoire, understand they have pledged, and rightly so. Cote d'Ivoire is another puppet of the West. When French troops came in to get Gbagbo out, they did that on the fringes of democracy. That Gbagbo lost elections and was not trying to respect the will of the people.
Right.
When Ouattara came, how many times has it gone? We must stop this hypocrisy.
Mr. Cotton, it brings me to my next question about considering the domestic pressures from ECOWAS countries. Do you think member states to be ready to support and finance any military intervention? And what consequences could there be if the regional bloc has decided or has asked these member countries to contribute and the member countries decide not to?
Look, my brother, the member state has not got any resources to have an intervention in Niger. It is a work of the Western world. You know, our economy is in the ditch. Nigerian economy is in the ditch. And most West African economies are in the ditch as we speak. The West, with their shenanigans, have promised to help these presidents come out of their economic woes. And these are the conditions they have given them. Otherwise, if you add 1 + 1, it doesn't make sense to have a military intervention in Niger. The conditions doesn't show that it will be a success. we are just going to plunge the whole of West Africa into a kind of war. And the unintended consequences will be that democracy will further decline in these West African countries. Because if we go on a full-fledged war in Niger, Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso are not going to stay aloof.
Right.
It means that elections that are coming in other West African countries will not be credible. And you will not have any voice to talk. Because as usual, the West, they are leading these West African countries to do their bidding. So when they turn around on their citizens when we don't have free and fair elections, they will keep quiet. And Ghana is going to an election in 2024. So just imagine there's a conflict in Niger, and it's a West African enterprise. How credible would our election in 2024 be, given the circumstances we even find ourselves? In Nigeria, Tinubu is fighting the legitimacy of his president in court.
Right.
So it was even illogical for ECOWAS to make Tinubu the chairman of ECOWAS, because he has not got that credibility, he has not got that lookum to lead the enterprises leading us into.
Right. Mr. Cotton, before you take leave of us, let's take a few steps back. And a lot of concern about the spate of coups in West Africa. We're looking at 5 in less than 3 years in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and other countries. If ECOWAS does not act now, bearing in mind how levels of diplomacy have not been able to deter other countries enough from, venturing into the areas of coup d'etat, do you envisage a situation where ambitious soldiers will be emboldened and encouraged to take up arms and depose democratic governments?
You see, brother, until we learn to stop constitutional coups in West Africa, we can stop military coups as well. You see what is happening in Senegal? What has ECOWAS done about it? What has the West done about it? So if a disgraceful man take the gun and dethrone the president of Senegal, then you will say that they are threatening military rule. We must stop this hypocrisy. There have been a lot of constitutional coups in West Africa and everybody has stood aloof.
Right.
Cote d'Ivoire is an example. Togo is an example. Recently in Sierra Leone, the elections that were held in Sierra Leone were not credible. Even in Nigeria, where the current president is the chairman of ECOWAS, how credible was the Nigeria election? ECOWAS should invest its mind to some of these constitutional coups. This is the panacea to solving military coups in West Africa.
Mr. Cotting, I'd like to thank you so much for your time with us on the program. We're speaking with the security analyst Emmanuel Cotting, who is the executive director for Africa Center for Security and Counter-Extremism. Now, before we take leave of you this afternoon, a member of the sponsors of the Promotion of Proper Sexual Human Rights Bill, Emmanuel Kwesi-Bedra, has called the bluff of the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, who cautioned Ghana against passing the anti-LGBTQ law on grounds that will affect trade and investment. But Emmanuel Bedra said Ghana would retaliate in equal measure should the U.S. apply sanctions on Ghana after the passage. Now, on Tuesday, a similar threat was issued by the World Bank, which announced that it will not provide new loans to Uganda due to its anti-LGBTQ laws. First, take a listen to the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, as she spoke about the possible effect that the country may experience if that happens.
Ghana is a very welcome, tolerant society. Lots of interreligious harmony, a lot of interethnic harmony, and that makes Ghana strong and stable and attractive for investment. I hope it stays that way with regard to the LGBT community. And again, there's money to be made. The color of your money is green or red if it's Ghanaian. But if there is discrimination or worse, then that will send a signal to not just LGBT investors and exporters, but the other American companies that Ghana is less welcoming than I'm telling people that it is now.
The voice of the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, there. But Emmanuel Bedra, who is also a member of parliament for Whole West, said the U.S. equally has several interests in Ghana, which government can target. He spoke on 3FM earlier.
Majority of Ghanaians do not want it in Ghana, and therefore we are very optimistic that we'll pass the law. We've gone to the second reading. We are now going through what we call the consideration stage, and then after the consideration stage, we'll have what we call the final reading, which will pass the law for the president to assign to it. Therefore, we are not perturbed at all. We are ready. They also have business interests here. Ghana has gone through economic hardship. Somebody will put it, we are broke in this country, and therefore, if they decide that do not give us aid again, we are prepared for it. We will develop our own, engineer our own economy.
You hear the voice of Emmanuel Bedra, who is member of parliament for Whole West, speaking. And that ends the afternoon news here on 3FM 92.7. But there's always more news on our website, 3news.com. My name is Noble Crosby, Annan. Stay with us here on 3FM 92.7. Up next is business news with Akua, Mensah, Aborampah. Good afternoon.
A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily. And coming up this afternoon, industry raises concerns about the potential consequences of overtaxation on the private sector. Also, tree crop production in the country is set to receive a major boost as Ministry of Food and Agriculture secures a $200 million World Bank loan. And in our special Friday feature, we take a look at Ghana's housing deficit and we ask, are refabricated or prefabricated homes an option? We have the details in a bit. Please stay. Thank you for your time. My name is Akua, Mensah, Aborampah. Let's get to the details. As tree crop production in the country is set to receive a major boost as the Ministry of Food and Agriculture begins the implementation of policies after securing a $200 million World Bank loan. The funding will be used to improve productivity, research, and marketing of cocoa, cashew, coconut, and rubber. A Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture, Frimpong Ado, speaking to the media on the sidelines of the 3rd International Coconut Festival, Ghana, stated that efforts are being made to rake in more revenue from the sector.
There has been a rejuvenation of the industry, and part of it is to secure a good money, very soft loan from the World Bank, $200 million. $100 million is going to Cocoa Board for the cocoa industry, and then $100 million to go to the Tree Crop Development Authority. The whole idea is to develop the industry right from the base, that is the seed. So research and development features prominently in this direction. The part of the money is going to go into research and development, where they will come out with varieties that can withstand all these hue and cry about climate change. Climate change is real, and because of that, if you are growing up and you don't do serious research to develop that crop, the climate change will hit you so hard that every effort that you put in will yield nothing. So we are going to ensure that we grow climate change resistant varieties for farmers. They've even started.
And away from that, government is introducing a garment and textiles manufacturing policy by end of this year. Trade Minister Katie Hammond says this policy provides an incentive framework to attract and facilitate targeted investment into the suffering textile industry. There's more in the following report.
The textile industry in Ghana was once a leading player in the country's industrial sector, employing about 30,000 workers. That number is now closer to 3,000 and dropping steadily, largely due to competition from cheap imports, predominantly from Asia, which is making it difficult for Ghanaian textile producers to prosper in the market. Speaking at the U.S.-Ghana Business Expo in Accra, Trade Minister K.T. Hammond says plans are advanced to resuscitate the industry.
The government of Ghana has, in collaboration with the industry experts, formulated a garment and textiles manufacturing policy and the incentive framework to attract and facilitate targeted investment into the industry. After extensive consultation with stakeholders, the process has concluded, and my ministry would formally outdoor this policy in the next couple of months.
U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, charged the two countries to leverage on its partnership for mutual benefits.
Well, more billions, I guess, is the straight answer. It's $3.7 billion in goods now, lots in services, but huge potential, I think, for growth in both directions. And that creates jobs in Ghana and jobs in the United States and prosperity in both countries.
The expo, put together by AmCham, provides a platform to foster bilateral trade collaborations. The two-day event is on the theme leveraging U.S.-Ghana trade relations for growth and prosperity.
And on to our special Friday feature. Ghana's housing deficit remains a concern, with about 2 million housing units needed to fill the gap. If the country wants to address the challenges as quickly as possible, what viable building technology options would be worth considering? My colleague Michael Obudu explores this in our special Friday feature.
Putting up huge structures like what you see behind me can take quite a while, from months to years. But what if you can do it in weeks, or probably in days?
Prefabricated homes, often referred to as prefab or modular homes, are constructed off-site in controlled environments utilizing standardized components that are later transported and assembled on site. This approach not only streamlines the construction process, but also significantly reduces costs associated with traditional on-site building. Prefabs are gaining traction for their ability to address Ghana's housing deficit head-on. But what do Ghanaians make of the concept?
For me, I don't know others, because some people may be scared. The way you are telling me some days, maybe it's just something that you just put together and make a house. But I don't mind trying it.
It could be a very nice project. If we're looking at the world now, the world is growing faster. We're in a technological world. And now our population is also growing, whilst the land is not growing.
Ghanaians may be keen about the technology, but industry players believe the current business climate is not right yet.
Manufacturing of all this, putting that together, is a lot. How much is our electricity cost in the country? Water, exchange rate, interest rate, the inflation, put all together, to be honest, we are nowhere near there. Even if we should introduce today, what will be 10,000 cedis in the European market, on American market, will be times 3 or times 4 because of what all these factors being slapped on it.
Perhaps this is why entities into prefabs believe tax rebates are crucial to sustaining their businesses locally.
The government can use it for its affordable housing, and this would motivate more people who could afford to build on their own. The product is imported from China, and when the government gives tax rebates, it ultimately affects the price of the products.
With the conversation around prefabricated homes gaining momentum, all eyes are on Ghana's housing sector as it embarks on a transformative journey to address one of its most pressing challenges. Hopefully soon, Ghana will receive a major boost in its housing industry. For 3 Business, my name is Michael Obudu.
Right, so when you consider all the bags of cement and the blocks you'd have to build, the prefab, I'm told, is like the container, and you need about $9,300, which you convert. That's about $40,000. I don't know if Black Rasta will be interested in getting a prefab. Black, do you prefer a story building, 2-bedroom, you buy cement, and then buy the materials used for putting up a house?
Oh yes. Which one of the microphones is on?
I think this is fine.
This one, okay. Yeah. It will be a very good one, you know. Yeah, to have a house is beautiful.
9,300 for the container.
Yes.
The Tema container.
Yes.
You have a kitchen, toilet, and bath.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how it is. Maybe you.
I must go get one.
We'll talk after. But that's it for Business Daily this afternoon. Log on to 3news.com. You have more business news updates. My name is Akua Mensah Aborampah. Enjoy your lunch and have a good afternoon.